A cold but beautiful day outside today, and I really needed this day. I've been saying in my recent videos that I've been really struggling with some issues in my life, and it's culminated into a very severe bout of depression. And the past 2 days, yesterday and the day before, were really severe. I was having trouble getting out of bed, doing anything, and I had to revert back to things I did back in my mid 20s when my depression was really severe after my significant other died. And I had to like literally set goals for myself. I had to say, Stephanie, you are not going to bed until you brush your teeth, until you take a shower, until you finish this work project, until you do this. Then, I might, like on both days, I allowed myself to take naps and then said, okay, Stephanie, you can't go asleep again unless you finish this and then this. And I forced myself to, and I didn't want to, but I had to do it because the alternative was what I was doing before, which was just sleeping and gorging myself with food. And so it was sending me down a really unhealthy path. And on Friday, when it was particularly, so today's Sunday, and Friday it was particularly severe, I knew. It was really funny because people don't understand this, but I said to myself, I have to hike on Sunday. I couldn't hike on Saturday, and it worked out because it was a terrible weather day. But I said I need to hike, and people will think that is so strange because they're saying, well, here you are barely able to function and having trouble getting out of bed and brushing your teeth, but you're willing to go and hike a mountain. And it does seem counterintuitive, but not so much when you understand my history, that at a very young age, I experienced a lot of trauma, and my traumas were at their worst in my teenage years. And during those teenage years, I would go for very long walks. Like every day, I would go for 8 to 10 mile walks and ride my bike for like 12 or 14 miles. I was always doing something outside. And so it it made sense to me that after Stan died, my partner who passed, that I start doing something outside again because it had always served me before. And so I turned to hiking, and and it worked really well for me. And at that time when I started hiking, I was morbidly obese, and so climbing just a little hill felt so hard. But what I realized is that I just set little goals for myself. I would set my sight on, like a tree in the distance and say, Stephanie, you're not going to stop until you get to that tree. You can't rest until you get there. And then I'd do it. And then I knew if I rested, I could keep going. And what's so significant about that is that like pattern of forcing myself to do something hard and then allowing myself to rest and recover so I can do more hard after worked. And it's how I got out of my deep depression. It's how I, got to a normal weight. It's how I became functional again and was able to start working again. And so over the past few days, I've been reverting back to that, giving myself little goals and saying, okay, Stephanie, you can rest, but first you need to do this work. And so today's hike, I've been working on finishing the New England 100 highest mountains in the United States, and I have most of them done. I have all the 4,000 footers done. But anyways, I have a few more in Vermont to finish, and one of the ones I have left is the one I just did today. I unfortunately couldn't record this video at the summit because it's cold out today, but it was really cold at the top. So there's a bench on the way down, in the middle of the way down, that I was able to record my video on. And so anyways, this hike that I'm doing today is Equinox Mountain. And has a unrelenting up. It's a pretty short distance, only like a little over 6 miles round trip, but there's like 3,000 feet of gain in that like 3 miles up. And so it's pretty steep, pretty unrelenting. And so for giving me, like for the past few days, been barely functioning. And then I go and do a mountain that's been hard. I haven't been hiking as much. Anyways, so what I did though is I just chunked up the mountain. I said, okay, Stephanie, I gave myself two things. I gave myself time limits. I said, you're not going to stop until you've moved for at least a half an hour. You're not going to sit. So that was one thing I did. But I allowed myself to stop in between, but I couldn't sit down and I couldn't take my pack off. And what I did in between was I just set my sights on, like what I used to do when I was really heavy, a tree or, some landmark. And it worked. And actually, I felt great. And by the time I got to the top, I felt wonderful. And that's why the mountains have been so good for me. They remind me how strong I am. They remind me that even when things are hard, I can just take a break, recollect myself, and just keep on going. And I always have felt an immense sense of pride in myself after I do particularly hard hikes, because it just reminds me how strong I am. And for today, I needed that reminder. So I feel great right now. And it just was a great reminder that this hard period I'm experiencing right now will end. It's not the worst I've ever experienced in my life, but it's been pretty severe. But it's going to pass, and I'll get through it. And I'm not sure how much longer this bout of depression will last, but it'll end eventually. And, today I get reminders of that. Now I'm on the way back down, and it's easier, smoother sailing on the way down, and it's a good reminder that every uphill battle, you always got to come down. You can't go up forever. So I'm coming back down off this obstacle I've faced, this summit I was aiming for today. And now I feel like soon I'll be on the other side of the other obstacle in my life, my deep depression. And it's exciting, and I get to hold on to today. Serves as a good reminder for me, and I hope is a good reminder to you as well. If you're struggling right now, or for the days when you do struggle, that those periods will always end. And I know sometimes those periods of darkness in our life can sometimes go on for years, and I do know that. And when those periods go on for months and years, it truly can begin to feel like it'll never end. But it will, and it always does. And so now we're heading into winter, and in nature, and eventually we'll be heading into spring. So every winter is followed by a spring, and every night is followed by day, and every period of depression will be followed by a period of either stability or being uplifted. And right now I'll take stability, but I'm looking forward to the moment where I can be uplifted. And after my hike today, I'm feeling more uplifted. So I hope you're well, and let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for listening. Bye for now.